Now that we know the long-term concept of education, let's look at the day-to-day motivation for studying. If you are a student currently, then it applies to you today, tomorrow, or for the next academic years. For those of us who have stopped studying or have finished studying, then it's just a recollection of our past in order to help our children or younger siblings or any relatives who are struggling with the process of studying. The reality today is that children don't have much of a choice of whether to study or not. They have a choice to seriously study or not, but they don't have a choice whether or not to go to school or not to sit in the class. So when I'm talking about why to study, I'm talking about why to study seriously. Since you cannot avoid studying, then you should explore your motivation of studying. In the rush of finishing the course, teachers don't have the time to delve into the soft or hidden aspect of studies, which is the spot that is the motivation. But it is very important. I will cover this section into two parts. First, I want to talk about whether you are studying for marks or for understanding. In the next subsection, I'll be talking about a rhetoric question which is meant for those of us who have doubts of whether we want to study or not seriously, because as I told you, we don't have an option not to sit in class. Many of the students study simply to get good marks, if not to pass the exams and move to the next grade. There is nothing wrong with that. However, you must be aware that for you, studies is just a means to an end, which is to get good marks. Again, marks don't have any tangible value. It is what they in turn provide. Some students want good marks to prove themselves that they have studied well. In this way, marks act as an indicator of whether they studied properly or not. For other students, good marks is a way to please their parents or family members. So they are studying for the family. Other students study to get marks so that they can secure status among their peers in class. Doesn't it feel great to be the first or the top 10 in your school? The adoration that comes along with this position of a student who secures high marks is very alluring. Some more obscure reason why we actually seek marks is that we gain more power or authority over others and people listen to us. Still, there are some students who want to get good marks in order to find love. I mean, why not? So you can see that this simple motivation for marks has got a very deep root. The whole macrocosm of life and living plays out in the school or college as a microcosm. So if you are studying for marks, go a bit deeper and identify the actual motivation for you studying. Is it status, power, family, or love? Or is it just inertia? That is, you are just following the status quo without thinking much. And that is where the students in this category lose the passion for studies, because these motivators are not his core reason to exist or raison d'etre. So when I identify this particular mismatch of motivation, I help the students by asking them further questions on what is important for them. And then it usually boils down to other motivators. Most of the students say that they want to be independent. Aha. So now they have a new reason to study. It is for marks, and marks will give them independence. I tell them that the marks are the ticket for him to get independence. Now they have a new reason to study. Each student is a bit different than the others, but the idea is to go below the obvious motivator of marks and find the real reason why they want to study. Some might want security, and the marks are a way for them to get security in the form of a scholarship in the future. In this way, you have learned that we have got to look below the surface of what seems so obvious. There are many students who do not care about marks at all, except that it's a way for them to move on to the next grade and not to have to repeat that particular class. They are very few in their purest form, but they exist. For them, all those things like status, power, family, even independence or security are meaningless. They study just out of curiosity. They study to purely gather knowledge through the process of what they call understanding the subject. I was one among those students. If I could go back in time, what I would have advised myself is I should have had put a bit more focus on marks also. But looking back again, I think that it would have been an antithesis to my actual objectives of my student life and even my professional life. I was always anti establishment in a positive way. I was unconventional in a positive way. And so many decades passed that pattern of being a student who purely focuses on understanding and curiosity. My professional life also took a similar pattern. Later on, marks are replaced by money, as you have guessed from my earlier explanation. For me, work was never really about money, but about what I could learn in the process of working. And that is a totally different perspective of living. It would be too broad to talk about in this section. So I will leave it at this point that understanding is also reason for students to study. Another reason for you to study is both. I mean, you study for marks as well as for understanding. That would be the best of both worlds. It is a very balanced approach to studies. The difficulty in this mixed motivation is where to draw the line. For example, you might be so focused on understanding something, but you realize that by the time you understand it, you will miss the preparation for the exams. Also, um, if you try to understand, then you will tend to use words and expression terminologies that are different than those taught to you by the teachers and the syllabus. Consequently, that will take a hit on the marks. So this mixed motivation is theoretically very attractive, but practically very difficult to achieve. That said, most of the academicians who make it to the top and are well recognized in their fields have successfully mastered this particular motivation. As for myself, I have to admit that I failed in this mixed strategy. This failure has its own merits and demerits. The merit is that I understood my subjects in such a way that even down the line, 40 years away, I still remember most of the things that I studied and I can integrate them with my life experiences. The demerit is I was never the most popular student and I never got a scholarship. But, dear student, the choice is yours. And now that you know what's at stake in all of the three motivation mixes, I'm sure that you will find the right reason to study. Now we are coming to the rhetorical question that I was referring to earlier on. This mainly is aimed at students who really don't want to study. And then I asked them, I understand you don't want to study, but tell me frankly, when the time for you to marry a spouse will come and you have two choices in front of you. One potential spouse is well educated and the other potential spouse is uneducated. Which one would you marry? There's a laughter in the class, and most of the students intuitively say that they will definitely marry somebody who's educated rather than uneducated. This goes to show that even to find love, as I discussed earlier on, we should get good marks enough that we will get an education or the degree that represents that we got an education. If the understanding level comes along that degree, it's great. But if not, at least a degree is good enough when it comes to marriage. Now, after asking that question, I play along with the students and ask them, do you actually know why you want an educated spouse? That is even more baffling because they have never thought about it and there is no reason why they should think about it. And I give them some of the reasons below. Mostly, when a person is educated, he or she is aware of his limitation in terms of knowing. Such a person is aware of his ignorance because he has either failed or found it very difficult to pass in various exams. The humility that comes from the process of education is unparalleled. Also, in the process of getting good marks, the student needs to try to understand, memorize, use cognitive skills. In this way, when there are troubles in the marriage, the educated person has a higher tendency to explore the cause and try to understand the situation. We all want an understanding partner, but the question is, where does a person learn to understand and to know that he doesn't know? The best and quickest way is in a school or college. Sure, that can happen at the job, but the learning component is so narrow when you are in a profession trying to meet the needs of the employer that the brain doesn't evolve as much as in any educational institution. That said, it doesn't mean that every educated person makes a perfect spouse. However, the chances that you will be understood will be higher if your spouse is educated. If that is true for your expectation of a spouse, then your future spouse is also going to expect an educated person. So that's a good reason to study. Sure, some of you are not even planning to get married, but that's another topic altogether. However, I'm sure that you got my point or the essence of this subsection. Another very important feature of being educated is that you have a higher standard of thinking. We tend to be able to look at a particular topic or situation from multiple angles. Whenever somebody tells us something good, we directly jump to the question, what are the advantage and disadvantages of your proposition? This is from our syllabus, whereby we had to do this analysis on a continuous basis. Then when somebody tells us something as a fact, we usually ask them, can you prove it? On what basis are you saying that? What are the precedents? Are there any theories, formulas that you are using? In this way, the educated person has got a higher cognitive standard. Also, being educated, this person is more conversant in a multitude of subjects. When traveling, it becomes more obvious. The educated person has got bigger vocabulary and terms of reference to understand the various phenomena around him, the geography, the history, the economics, the science, the technology, the legality behind things that happen around the world. Every society has got their own literature, but at least if somebody is familiar with some famous literary landmarks of that place, or at least can quickly understand and link it back to his own literature at his home, then that's an example of a great standard. Somebody might not be aware of who is William Shakespeare, but at least if that person is educated, then he should at least be able to compare it to the writer of great literature in his own community. So we all want a spouse that is well conversant of various topics and subjects, don't we? Amazingly, studies is a great training platform to handle stress of the modern kind. The likelihood that we will be hunted down by a saber-tooth tiger or mammoth is very rare. That kind of stress management is futile nowadays. But that we will be hunted down by targets at work, tough problems constituting of unknown factors to be solved is very high probability. I'm sure that the educational pioneers didn't design their syllabus or educational methods with this in mind, but somehow education has the inherent quality to give stress to the students, which is very similar to the professional stress that they'll face later on. So somebody who is educated definitely is able to handle stress and pressure. That said, we all know of the topper who failed in life because he couldn't handle the stress of the real life. Studies, like any sports, be it football or chess, has got a set of rules. If we follow the rules, then we are on top of our game. That is, we get the marks, or we score that goal, or we do check and mate. But life doesn't have any rules, and the rules that exist keep changing, and that's a bit different than the educational system. However, I still believe that the same person wouldn't have fared better if he wasn't passed through the educational system. So it's inconclusive whether the thesis that I have just put, that education increases ability to handle pressure, is true or not, but I think it's good enough to believe so. Towards the end of the lecture, I amuse the students by telling them if you are provided with a legal document, can you read it? Many people find it very difficult to read an English essay or a story or a book. Reading legal papers is really worse than that. But would you at least want your spouse to be able to do that? Obviously, we do. So, by all means, education enables you to read and understand written documents. When you grow up, they will keep on popping up one way or the other. You cannot leave the process of reading your legal papers, be it a simple agreement between two partners or a lawsuit somebody filed against you, to artificial intelligence. So learn the process of learning, studying, reading. Don't leave that to your spouse, because if he or she also thought the same way, then you would be in trouble. Finally, I asked this rhetorical question. In the event of your death and you assuming have children, who do you think that would be better able to take care of them? That is an educated spouse or an uneducated spouse? That's a no-brainer. When a parent is educated, not only will he or she get better jobs that pay higher, but that person will be able to make more educated choices for the children and guide the child in a more constructive manner, because he or she has got more knowledge or is willing to learn more. So the bottom line is there are so many reasons why we should want to study, right?